right. We're going. It's been a while.
It's been a hell of a time.
Dude, we shot an entire episode and it wasn't even recording. You remember that shit, bro? We talked about technology.
Yes, that was the worst.
I
think it didn't record on video, but it recorded on...
No, it recorded video, but not audio.
Yes.
And you know, the camera mic's pretty not good. But welcome back, everybody, to Out at Reese's podcast. I'm your host, Reese Shalvis, and next to me, our co-host,
Devon Anderson. Welcome back, guys.
So season 1's a wrap. We just last finished off with the Royalty podcast, which he couldn't go.
I know.
But you know, you're gonna be seeing him a lot more in the future. So where did we last leave off with you? We were talking about.
We can just do an update. I mean, it's been a pretty long time.
Dude, it's been a fat minute. Well, for one, we never got that sponsorship with Kirkland. So
we got the Great Value.
So now we're on Great Value. All right, Great Value purified drinking water. We're looking for that sponsor.
Life has been great, right? Like it's been, I don't know, like maybe like 5 months. Was it been 5 months? Something like that? I would have to double check.
5 or 6 months
since we last did an episode. A lot of things has changed. A lot of different opportunities. Got promoted at work. Met somebody in my life.
I'm not at Amazon anymore.
He's not at Amazon anymore. I'm currently still with Amazon. And you know, I'm constantly meeting new people and, you know, learning new things about life. Reading this nice book. I think it's called Constellations.
Book? You reading a book?
I know.
What the hell?
Like I said,
dude, this isn't my co-host.
Last 6 months has been like really changing and eye-opening. I think it's called Constellations of Underlining Meaning of Words. It's like really goes deeper into thought about like words like friendship or like love or loyalty, and it breaks it down into so many different perspectives, so it can give you that outside perspective to like basically understand that word from every point of view rather than your own.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I started reading a couple books.
You reading a book?
You're right. No, but I started this one book a while ago called Atomic Habits.
Okay.
It's pretty good. It just talks about how all the tiny habits you build can essentially stack on top of each other and improve your life significantly.
Improve it or not improve it?
Improve it. So like a bunch of small good habits that you build will just stack on top of each other and will just improve your life tremendously.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I will tell you, like, I can say that's, like, true. For the last couple months, I've been kind of, like, getting a little lax on, like, my everyday house stuff. But when I
You've been getting lax on this podcast, bro.
Oh, my God. But when I wake up first thing in the morning and, like, put together my sheets, open the blinds, drink a cup of water, it sets me up for success every day. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the trigger is, but I've been doing that every day, and I've been able to like read my book, go work out,
you see
do
big
all my
changes,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, like a lot of different changes, and it's just that little small thing. And the days that I don't do it, I'm like super lazy, like don't want to move, like do a bunch of stuff. So it's really nice, like how you've been reading that book. So.
Dude, life just in general lately has been a movie.
Yeah,
it's been crazy traveling. I just recently interviewed a bunch of people at. Oh, yeah? That was crazy. That was so
Underground
far.
801?
The 801 Underground.
There you go, 801
It's just the community. They're calling it the hip hop community here in Salt Lake. They're calling it the 801 Underground because 801 is our area code for. But, so that was crazy. I actually did a whole podcast on that experience and kind of what I learned from it. If you guys want to go check that out, it's actually part of this new podcast series I launched called Out at Reese's Sub Era.
Forgetting about Devon.
It's like a solo podcast just about my thoughts after certain experiences every week or two. It's good. I think good feedback so far. But we got a lot of stuff planned for the future. You guys should really tune into not only the podcast, but if you guys are interested in cool documentaries, I got some of those planned on YouTube. I'll be doing a lot of YouTube stuff. He's going to be a part of some of those videos. You going to be there Saturday?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude. We're doing this challenge. It's called rejection therapy.
Oh my god.
So essentially, the idea behind rejection therapy is the more you get rejected, the better you can handle it when you get rejected in the future. So the idea behind it is you go out of your way to try and get rejected. So you have this goal in mind to ask someone for something or try and do something. But your goal is to get rejected, not accepted.
Right.
And so if you get rejected, it's a win.
Right.
If they give you the thing that you ask for or whatever, then you lose.
Okay.
So we're actually buying these rejection therapy cards, and we're going to be passing them out to the whole crew and just be doing the challenges. Yeah, just picking random cards. Going out to City Creek to go do that. That's going to be pretty fun. So watch out for that. That'll be coming out here in the next couple of weeks or so. And, so season 2.
For what?
Our podcast.
Oh, yeah. We talked
Did we already talk about that? Bro, sorry. My mind's jumping here and there and there. It's been a while since we sat down. So it's like, there's a lot to say, a lot to talk about.
I think the biggest thing is like we've been doing I ain't doing like as much traveling as you, but I have been traveling to places that I haven't been before. Like I've been, but like I catered around it. Like I didn't really experience for what it was. I was able to be an assistant to a wonderful photographer, and carry around a bunch of cameras and experience a wedding from the photographer side of everything. And like for some odd reason, like I started crying when the bride came down the aisle, and I was like, bro, what is going on? I don't even know you that much.
Because you was thinking about that photographer.
The photographer is my girlfriend. But like that was like a good experience in itself.
Where was this at?
Wyoming.
Wyoming. What do you think of Wyoming?
It's
Wyoming.
It's Wyoming. But don't get me wrong, it was so pretty driving up, and it was different from like when I went as an athlete and as I went as just like a normal person. I was able to like explore around the town. We didn't go and do as much things because like it was more pertained around the wedding, and I got to meet her family and everything like that. But then drove to Denver, Colorado, went to a Rockies game. They was doing their 4th of July, a little fireworks, which was like super amazing, and I enjoyed that. It was really fun. I was drunk, had a nice little beers, but yeah, that was my traveling experience. He has way more better stuff than I do.
I've been not only have I been getting to travel around for work because my work sends me for like training and stuff, but on my own time I've been traveling to like Los Angeles, Miami, which you're all actually gonna see in our first documentary series that I'm making. It's called Under the Radar. It's going to be a series of...
It died?
Sorry about that, everybody. We were having some technical difficulties. So what I was saying, I have this new documentary series coming out. It's called Under the Radar. Basically, it's about... I'm going to be exploring kind of underground communities, art communities, stuff like that. And this first one is actually about the 801 Underground. Mm-hmm. You're going to be seeing all my travels to Los Angeles, Miami. It's going to be sick. It's going to be awesome. So be ready for that in the next couple months. But got so much going on, so much planned.
I'm not a part of that travel list.
Yeah, he's not been a part of that.
That has been a solo dolo trip for his own self.
I mean, you were invited to go.
I was invited. But I have a very weird work schedule.
It's partly why it's hard to get him to do a podcast.
Yes. But I still love my job. I still do.
Started holding some co-host interviews.
Oh, yeah. I seen that.
Yeah, dude, 2022 has been crazy. I know we haven't really talked about it too much since we kind of were on a couple long breaks from the podcast. But, dude, I've learned so much just this year alone. Mm-hmm. I think this has been my most productive year yet.
Yeah. Before we get into we can just go and get into the podcast topic, and then like correlate your experience and the things you learned in 2023. Because I feel like...
You mean 2022?
2022, my bad, guys. It's like, 2023 is
unless this comes out in 2023.
Oh, no. Should be good. But like correlate those with like your experiences around the topic today.
Yeah. So part of the topic for today is we're kind of talking about egotism. Your
Mm-hmm.
ego. What? Let me ask you this: do you know what an ego is? Like, what the definition is of an ego?
The true definition of ego, I do not know.
Well, I'm gonna pull this up real quick because I want to tell you the definition, and then
you
the
want
way
me-
I kind of
Okay.
what's the word? Translate that?
Yeah.
No, not translate. Like interpret.
Okay.
Interpret that, right? Ego definition. I'm googling this. This is straight
You're
off
fine.
Google. So, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance.
Okay.
So one way I like to interpret that, essentially, I feel like an ego really comes down to how you view yourself and how you think others view you.
Okay.
You think that's kind of a good representation of what ego is, right? Because
Yeah.
it's your self-esteem and self-importance, right?
Yeah.
So if you think that you have this self-importance to who or what, that's kind of how you think, of yourself.
Yeah.
And do you think an ego? All right. Have you ever experienced an ego death?
No. Sounds a bit dark.
It's essentially when you have an ego death, because I've had it a few times.
Okay.
It's when you completely you forget who you. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. Essentially, an ego death is when you don't see who you are. You kind of forget who you are. You lose who you are. You don't feel like you know yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, who am I? Who
Well,
am I to other people? And
yeah.
you just you don't know. You're
I
kind of
would-
lost in this void of the in between. You're
Yeah.
lost in the in between of just who am I and who am I to people.
I don't think I ever experienced ego death. I think I got like very close. I think depending on what happens to you at some point of your life can leave you in a vulnerable state, and at that point it can hinder your physical, mental, or just your ego in general to like do your everyday things. But I don't think I've been on the path of where though it completely destroyed me. I may have wandered off, or maybe probably forgot something, one of my values, but I always kind of like grounded myself into like making sure my ego is always in check. So I think I've been pretty fine. My friends may tell me different, but personally I think that 100% I haven't experienced something like that. But I would say it probably happens when you deal with something very traumatic in your life. So
Dude, there's been several times where I've just like I was like, so, like it was like late at night. I'm like, who am I really? And like
yeah.
I go through like these insecurities that just break down my mental state,
Yeah.
and I just realize I like have this eye-opening realization that, and this literally is what killed my ego every single time. I just think to every single person, I'm someone else. Like
Okay.
there's no duplicates of me to two people, right? So like what I am to you, I am completely like. Maybe not completely different, but I'm someone perceives me differently,
Yeah.
different experiences. I'm not the same person to you as I am my other friend or
Yeah.
my mom or my brothers, right? Because it's completely different experiences. So like the perception you have on this person is just completely different.
Okay. So that makes your ego dies.
It does because realizing that I'm different to every single person I know
Uh-huh.
is like, whoa, then who am I? And then when I really think about who I am to myself,
Mm-hmm.
what it means to be Reese Shalvis,
Yeah.
I can't figure that out, right? Is it?
So, go ahead. I'll let you
Oh
finish.
no, go ahead.
So, like, so I see where you're coming from, where as though, like, you, like, your perception, like, people perception of you can kind of, like, cause this, like, overthinking factor onto, like, who I am as a person, right? But, like, in the reality of everything, to me, why I don't think I experience, like, a lot of ego deaths is that I know when I wake up every day, somebody's perspective of me is going to be completely opposite of one of my best friends, right? I can't make somebody like be my friend or look at me in this certain way because they may take one action the wrong way and then
Exactly.
perceive me as some way. But my ego also be telling me like, bro, like this is who you is. You can't change it, and you shouldn't let like other people way of thinking towards you about you hinder you,
and
right?
You can't deny you want people to look at you a certain way, right? When you meet someone, you're like, man, I hope they really think I'm
it depends
good
on
person,
the person.
you know.
Like, I think I'm genuinely a good person, but like if I meet you and you just give me like weird like energy or like whatever, like I don't really care for your perspective, right? Now we're talking about somebody that are on the same tone as me and energy is like cool and we always like have a happy medium, then of course I want that perspective to be he's a good guy, he's a great person, because my perception of them is going to be that. Unless you give me something or you do something to me to make me not think that way. Because that's
Right.
how I think that's how it happens, right? Like, you don't randomly meet somebody and be like, oh, I don't like them, right? It's whether they come, you meet that person, and then they even have like that weird little attitude towards you.
Sometimes you get that though. Like sometimes you can kind of just feel like someone's vibe, right?
Yeah.
Right as you
And
and
it's
you're
super-
like, and it can go one of two ways. You either continue getting to know them and you were right about them.
Yeah.
You're like, man, this dude, I don't want to mess with this dude.
Yeah.
Or you're like, yo, this is one of my best homies.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh my God, I met them for the freaking my whole entire life. Like, this person been in my life for like 26 years, whole time. Like,
Right.
we met like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling, right? That
I feel
that
like we've
is
known each other longer than what?
3 years.
Has it been 3
Yeah,
years?
it's been 3 years.
We were just talking about how it's been 2 years,
Yeah,
like a year ago.
It's really crazy how
That's
like
insane.
quick it went. But
That's crazy. It feels like 5 years at least.
yeah, and more, I would say 15. Felt like I met you in high school, elementary, and like all that.
Elementary, yeah. We was going to the same church.
Yeah, oh no. I didn't mean to say oh no in church as in that way, but that came out weird.
He meant it that way.
No, I didn't. I like that's another thing that helps your ego, right? So, when you meet somebody for the first time and you feel like they've been your friend for like 30 years or 20 years, I feel like that helps your ego, right? That helps your ego be like, wow, like, oh my God, like just give you like that happiness of your ego. And it's like, all right, cool. And then when you experience the ego death, it's like when you have that relationship with that person and it completely dies out, I think that right there creates one of your ego deaths, or maybe hinder it and makes it like not as positive as it used to be.
Now let's not confuse ego death for just having a hurt ego.
Okay.
Right? Because having a hurt ego, I mean, when someone like, so when I went through that experience a few years ago with my friends, it didn't cause an ego death. It just hurt my ego. I was just like, man, these people think like it wasn't like who am I?
Yeah.
It was more, I am this shitty person to these people.
Yeah.
And to people, to essentially everyone I know is what I thought, right? So that hurt my ego. But then ego death, I literally just was like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I in the world, in the universe? What does anything mean? You know, and it's just that experience though has led me to have ego deaths, because as I've kind of reflected on those kind of experiences I've had in my past, it's led me to just like realize, like I said earlier, everyone sees me differently, and it's just wow, like how I think people see me is usually is completely wrong usually. You know, it's because you see how people see you based on how they treat you. And when people start treating you different, you're just like, whoa, what's going on? You know, and it's, I don't know, it's just, it can really affect you. It can hurt you too, but having an ego death I think is healthy, because it gives you the opportunity to learn and explore yourself, your own mental state, your consciousness, you know, yourself and the world. I
would say, now thinking on that, like how you explain that, I did experience an ego death. As I think after college football, right, or just college in general, you know, as an athlete or just as a college student in general, like, do you think that you were provided the preparations to go out into the real world, get a job, start your savings, like, etc., right? When I graduated, my one thing was, of course, football was like 65% of everything for me.
Right.
So once that 65% went away after college, I was left with the rest of that percentage and like thinking to myself, like, who am I? Right. I just was like doing interviews. I was talking to scouts, talking to all these people, thinking that I had this for sure plan. And and I lost myself. Like, I had to find a different way to basically bring that personality, that ego, whatever the case may be, into the real world now. Right? So I had to take that into my job, take that into anywhere that was correlating with that. And so I was able to obviously get into security, would kind of like help me, build me a little bit more. And then fortunate enough, I was able to get into Amazon, which was like 100% different than just being in security. But it gave me the same experience in football, far as like a team and competitive nature and like all these other different factors that helped me mature and nurture my ego back up to the same standards that I used to have.
So do you feel like having gone through that experience of just, man, who am I, after you lost that football opportunity, do you feel like going through all that, you feel like it's helped you find more who you are in the world and just like put you in a better spot than...
I would say just how I grew up in general has made me that way. But that has definitely helped me a little bit more to understand like my value in life and who I am as a person, but also like who I am as a manager, but also who I am as a man, right? And who I am as a friend, a boyfriend, like whatever the case may be, it helped me like define that a little bit more. But like you said, these whole couple months has been like truly like crazy, and we experienced so many things, and like a part of those experiences was things that helped me build my ego. So it's a wonderful experience, but also everybody can't do the same things that we can, right? Some people may lose that ego forever, or their ego and their drive are like hand in hand, I think. And when you lose both of them, it's really hard to try to find a way back from that. And usually sometimes we like take more time than we need off for things that we know we're passionate about. And it sucks. And, like sometimes nobody can help us but ourselves. And, if anybody out there going through anything like that, like please understand that, you got to choose to fight every day, and wake up and choose yourself. Like when you lose your ego or your drive, it's always something little small. Like you were saying in the beginning of the podcast, is that, you do little things over and over, but the outcome can become bigger and bigger. Right. And that has helped me like every day and like preparation of just being a manager and a better friend.
There's actually been a recent experience that's flipped my life, a complete 180. I almost said 360, but that's not a good thing if you're doing a 360. Yeah, 360. You're going right back to where you started. No, but I can't go into too many details for NDA reasons. I signed my own NDA. I gave myself an NDA. I signed it. You can't talk about this for...
Hey, I promise you guys, I have not seen an NDA form around here. Maybe he signed it on his phone. I don't know. But
I signed it in my head. But okay. There's reasons why I can't go into it. Eventually, though, when we're podcasting to the whole world, I'm gonna be telling about this experience, because this was a point in my life that I think has changed my life forever. Yeah. I went through this experience that not only gave me an ego death, but I saw the world in another way. I saw it from a new perception, that in a way that I no longer mattered, and not in any kind of depressing way as I don't matter. It's just in more of in the grand scheme of things, I didn't matter, but I was seeing the universe like this, and it's given me this new perspective on life and what it really means. And I'm still exploring what life really means, but with this new perception, because just going through my day-to-day life after this experience, everything feels different now. Mm-hmm. I mean, people will say I'm the same because, same personality, same way I talk and everything, but the way I perceive the world now is different. And I do think it's for the better. It's scary though. It's been really scary because it's out of my comfort zone. I've been treading these waters that are just dark down there, dark down below, and I don't know what lies ahead of me, right? Mm-hmm. But it's been opening up new opportunities from being able to see the world this way. Yeah. And the way I've been kind of looking at it is, I've told a couple of friends about this, but essentially, it kind of comes down to the world is always going to be moving, but nothing in anyone's life is going to change until something changes it, right? And so if you want to like change your own future, your career, everything, just sitting around doing nothing, it's not going to go anywhere, right? Because while the sun's going to set every day, nothing's going to change until you do something. And that's kind of how I see my life now. And so it's allowed me to up my productivity so much. And I really want to go more into the experience eventually. One of these days I really want to, but it's flipped my life around, and I've learned to appreciate the world so much more and the beauty that it has. Because before this experience, I was going through these periods of time where I felt numb and dull, and like you dude, I was bawling to you on Snapchat. Yeah. I was going through some crazy stuff, and the world was so black and white, and I stopped enjoying things I like to enjoy. And after this experience, I could now see the world for how it is, and
the nitty gritty of it.
Right, and I want to explore that.
Yeah,
and I want to share whatever experiences I have with my friends, with you guys, and I want to bring people together. That's kind of ultimately what I want to do, and I like that. I think it all stemmed from the ego death. Yeah, and I think if you guys are experiencing ego death, it's gonna be scary as shit. You're gonna get scared, maybe feel anxious, but just know it's for the better. Yeah, and just try not to hold on to your emotions from the past. Yeah, except the positive ones. Hang on to those ones.
Yeah, I would. This would be. I would just say, like, as you said, like, please make sure you just let go all bad and negative things that is tied to that ego. And like before the new year hit, like, if it's something that's bothering you, write it down. Write down whatever it is that it like is I'm trying to say. Whatever it is that is attached to your ego, what drives it, what deletes it, what depletes it, like what are the pros and cons of everything that helps your ego, and list out every single last one of them, and then list all the negative and the bad ones. I already said the pros and cons, but go into very like details on like the things of which affects it, and make those changes before the new year. So once that new year, everybody had their new year resolution, and be like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, blah, 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 etc., etc. Get ahead of that, so you can become a better person. Like whether that's, you want to go learn to read, you want to go do something, learn Spanish, whatever it is, it just like helps you like to build a better plan.
Right. But now when get ahead of it, but try not to get ahead of yourself. I've made this mistake countless times over the last few years, and I get ahead of myself when I'm trying to push myself and drive. I get overwhelmed, and it's healthy to sometimes just stop and reflect and take the breaks you need. Just take care of yourself. I think physical and mental health is the most important thing in anybody's life, and I always think that should be your priority, because if you can work on your physical and mental health, it's like the root of everything else in your life, and it's gonna make everything blossom like a flower garden or something,
like anime,
sure. Somehow that correlates. Sure. We'll say that works.
It always works. It's anime.
True. Anime has everything. But yeah.
I just want to give one shout out to somebody that is always listening. I appreciate you every day, Mr. Ruben. You have... dang. Did it fill up again? Why is it shitting me? All right. Sorry. Just before... We had another technical difficulty, but I promise it'll be way better next time. But just want to give a quick shout out to somebody that's an active listener to our podcast and constantly give us great feedback on the things that we should do and do better to get a bigger listening group, right? Is that right? Did I say that right?
Bigger community?
Yes, bigger community
audience?
For the podcast. Audience.
However you want to call it.
That was the thing I'm missing. So thank you so much, Mr. Ruben. I appreciate you. You've been following me since I was literally that annoying kid in science class, and I hated science. Is it off?
Hold up. All right, we're switching to my. All right, yeah, still going audio.
So we just had some
crazy technical difficulties. I'm literally on my phone because the camera died. So it's not out at Reese's without at least some technical difficulties, right? But all right, go ahead, do your shout out.
But I just wanted to give a nice little shout out to somebody that's just been following our podcast for a very long time since the beginning, even from YouTube. Mr. Ruben, thank you so much. Appreciate you. You've been guiding me since I was just a little annoying kid, giving you so many issues in science class. I'm starting to love science. But I just wanted to tell you thank you so much. And thank you to everybody in our audience that continues to give us feedbacks and ratings and things that we can do to improve the podcast. So
I want to give someone a special shout out. I want to give a huge shout out to my mom. She's been listening to every podcast and giving me the most support out of anybody I know. And thank you so much, Mom. I love you so much. Thank you for listening to all these. Thank you to everyone else that is listening to this and just listening to our podcast in general. I really appreciate it. Remember, this Friday, actually, no, this is coming out after.
Yeah,
actually,
it'll be on like Monday.
Yeah. Anyways, ignore what I just said. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening wherever you're at. Morning, night, day. Hope you have a fabulous one.
Yes. And also, happy Squat-tober. It is day 13 of squats every day, Monday through Friday. So if you're not doing Squat-tober, get it together.
All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.